Welcome to another unit in this Excel course. This time I'm going to talk about conditional formatting. Well, in a previous lesson, I already talked about how we can format different cells. So for example, if I go here, enter a few numbers, I argued how I can use, I'll select them, right click, format cells, down here the custom formats, or write my own custom formats. Well, this is pretty nice and forward, but I can also use this to add conditional formats. So meaning, for example, if we just go here, well, just display what the guy entered. And I mentioned that if I want to have this in a specific color, I can just, for example, put red here. But I can add at this point, if I add additional brackets after this, same type of brackets as with red, I can write a condition here. For example, only do this if the entered number is smaller than 150. So if I click OK, I see only two numbers here are marked in red. That's those ones that actually are smaller than 150. The two which are larger than 150, they are displayed in the standard, in the automatic default color, which here in this case is black. Okay, this is nice if you want to, let's call this, pimp your custom format a little bit. But what you usually would or should do is rather use up here the conditional formatting, because this is also way more sophisticated as the other one. So if I have these numbers here, or rather, let's select some other numbers. Let's go, for example, with 20, 60, 150, 14, 32. I have these numbers. I could either go as before, highlight cell rules. So what if the cells are greater or lesser, or between some numbers, or equal to? That's more or less the same I did before. I can also go, what if the text I entered here contains a specific phrase, specific part. If I have a specific date, so I can basically use all the different conditions I might come up with. That's relatively nice if you actually want to have rules for specific cases. Well, you can do this, or you can go even with more rules, where you can say, well, what if the cell value, so whatever is entered, is, then here we have all the different stuff. Greater than, not equal to, not between, stuff like this. Then here you just set the format. The format can be a lot. Cannot only be the color, can be underlining, size, font style, could be borders, could be style. So you can change almost anything of what will happen if one of those conditions is actually fulfilled. The advantage, you can also check for errors. What if errors occur? Format only cells with errors, and for example then show them in red. So as I said, I can do way more than I could with the other stuff. That's simply with the conditional formatting and the highlighting cell rules. Different other interesting thing is the top and bottom rule. So here I can say, well, mark the top or the bottom 10, mark the top, bottom 10%, mark those above or below average. So I can actually get an idea, if I have a long data series, which are the more important observations in this context. Or, well, here this is just, again, like if this is top or bottom 10% or something, this is still a more or less yes-no decision. If you want to have a more gray selection or displayment, well, gray is the wrong term here, but with different in-between nodes, you can go with data bars or color scales. Data bars, for example, here, they get the largest for the largest value, smallest for the smallest value. I have different colors for this here to select from. Can do the same with color scales. So here, for example, in the first one, the higher the values, the darker the green tone is, the smaller the numbers, the darker the red tone is, and the more in the middle they are, they're more towards something yellowish. And I can do the same thing for other colors. So for example, here I have red, yellow, green again, but more or less in the opposite way. And we see we have different other things. And again, I can just determine them. Can define the lowest color, lowest value color, the highest value color. I could even change this as well. Specific percentage, specific formula to follow, only a 2 or a 3 color scheme so that I have something in between to work. Could even go and select specific icons for this. So should this, for example, be here, differently colored squares, should this be filled stars, how many filled stars, should be something like okay, take care, not okay. So I have a lot of options aside from just coloring this red, green. And well, this is again, final part, this is the icon sets I mentioned before. So this could display, for example, how the different things look like. It's downwards, so it's a bad positioning. It's upwards, it's good. It's slightly going downwards, so it's not so good. So there's actually quite a lot of stuff which I can use to illustrate what I have here. Well, all of this is based around the idea of conditional formatting. So I don't have to build all the rules myself. I can select quite a lot. The advantage of this menu, once I added one of those rules, I can go to Manage, or here the lower part, the Formatting Rules Manager, where I can either change existing rules, delete existing rules, or even add new rules to what I want to have for them. Let's do this with an example. If I just go here, select, for example, this type of icons. Well, looks nice, but at some point I don't want to have this anymore. Then I directly see, okay, I can clear this if I have selected this, or I can go to Manage, and here I have the possibility to edit this, to delete this, or set even something else. So this option with the conditional formatting allows me quite a lot to illustrate my data, to add color to this, add specific more or less developments to this, illustrate this via signs, via formats changes. So I have really a lot of possibilities available here. And well, this was just a short, easy introduction on what those possibilities are, because well, I think I could talk about 2 or more hours if you just want to go into detail of all the different parts which are allowed and the advantage or disadvantages. This just should illustrate in which way conditional formatting can actually help to get a better idea, a better, well, let's say this, feeling for the data which is entered. And well, this then is everything I wanted to say in the context of this unit. So if you want to see more on Excel, feel free to visit the rest of this course or have a look at the corresponding playlist. I'll say goodbye and see you next time.